Welcome to the ESS BIZTOOLS Business Advisory Services podcast. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Today, I'm joined by Trevor Marchant, Managing Director of Marchant Dallas Consulting. How are you, Trevor?
Very well, thanks, Peter, and thank you once again for inviting me to this podcast of yours. It seems to be getting quite some momentum. I'm really excited about it.
Thanks, Trevor. I'm pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
What we're going to concentrate on today is marketing and selling by accountants in a professional manner, obviously. And Trevor, you're the key producer of a very important tool that accountants and bookkeepers and general SMEs can use, the Boss Factor library. So we'll talk about how the various articles, there's 65 articles at present, isn't there, Trevor?
Yeah, that's right. We'll have 100 in there by the end of March.
You're going to be busy.
It'll continue on from there.
Yeah.
I'll probably keep writing for the rest of my life, but anyway.
Okay, well, that's great. Trevor, when people think of selling, I think they normally think of going in and buying a shirt or a tie or a suit or a dress if you're a lady, electronic equipment, even a motor vehicle. What's the difference in the sales approach to those sort of sales to what accountants and bookkeepers should be utilising for professional selling?
Good question, Pete. Look, I think you're right. When we think about selling, we often think about retail selling. I think the difference there is when a buyer goes into, say, they're looking for a new television set or something of that nature, they've done their research. They've looked online, they've talked to their friends, so they go into the store with something in mind. So they're going in to buy an XYZ TV set. So they're going up to and speak to somebody who, and the buyer usually has a series of questions, which then get answered by the retail seller. And also the retail seller may go into some other areas. It's a sort of a quick way of selling. I think the buyer is far more educated in that sense. If I go now to, say, an accounting firm, when the buyer comes in, they don't know what they're looking for. I mean, they know that the accountant does tax and they know they do compliance-ish and things, but we're talking about business advisory services largely. Now, a lot of those services the client doesn't know anything about. So therefore, the accountant has to raise that. So what you've got on the one hand with retail selling is fairly short, sharp, moving people through a process, whereas with accountant selling, it's consultative selling. It's about saying, okay, where are you now? Where do you want to go? And let's look at the gap in between and see if we as an accounting firm have some services, have some products to help you get there. So selling in an accounting firm is a lot longer cycle. It takes, because there's a lot more questions needed to be asked, and largely because the consumer doesn't really know what they're looking for. In fact, when they go into the accounting practice, they may not even be aware of some of these services that are available.
Yeah,
that's the sort of difference, I think.
And Trevor, the accountant has to familiarise themselves with that client's business, don't they? They need to understand it.
Yeah, asking a lot of questions. Where is that person going? Like in terms of their goals, their dreams, their hopes. When the business is running perfectly and it's making some money, it's profitable, what does the client want to do then? That's the question we have to ask, because we've got to be able to help the client achieve that dream, whatever that dream may be. And I don't think we do enough of this as accountants. I think we tend to be transactional, deal with what's in front of us, as opposed to the longer view. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, of course. Many accountants are very good at that. But that's essentially what the business owner is looking for. I think the role of the accountant has to be, in terms of a business client, helping that business client become successful. So the accountant needs to understand what success means to the business client. Tell me about success. When you're successful, what does that mean? So,
and that can be very different, can't it? For some people, it might be that they can knock off at 5 o'clock on a Friday and don't have to go back to work until 9 o'clock Monday.
That's exactly right. Or it might be, the 4-hour week, or it might be.
We all dream of that.
Some people might be, 70 hours. I mean, they might their passion could be their work.
Yeah.
You know, and so it depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to know.
Trevor, you mentioned business advisory services just
Yeah.
there, and I use that term. I've
Yeah.
adopted it. I think it's a great description.
Yeah.
But I listened to a podcast presented by someone else recently who really challenged some of these terminologies. Do
Yeah.
clients understand what we're talking about when we say business advisory services,
Yeah.
predictive accounting, 3-in-1 financial forecast, SME needs analysis, or should we as accountants be changing the language to suit the SME client more?
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. I agree totally with what you're saying. I think we should be changing it. Even business advisory. I'm a business owner. Do I want to be advised? I'm not sure about that, right? Do I want to be consulted with? Yes, probably. So I think it's more a nature of consulting. I don't even think it's coaching. I think it could be coaching if I agree to being coached, but I think it's largely consultative services. It's when you look at the definition of a consultant, you can be a specialist, like an engineering consultant. But if you're a business consultant, that means you're specializing in business. So I think it's more consulting rather than advisory. I think that's a term accountants are happy to use internally, but I'm not sure that it's understood clearly by the client.
Okay, so everyone listening, if we change the name of these podcasts after this, you
know
why. You've heard the reason for it, because I think it's a serious bit of self-examination we need to do. And this is a new industry, what we're currently calling business advisory services. So perhaps we do need to change it to business consulting.
Well, I think it is. You know, when you look at it, Pete, there's only sort of three areas, aren't there? Accountants, there's the traditional accounting, there's the wealth creation and asset protection area, usually done by financial planners, and your super funds are in there. And then there's this business advisory. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm giving you some tax advice, I'm in business advisory, aren't I? So I think it's the wrong name. I think it's got to be consulting. And you've got a raft of products and services in that consulting space.
Now, all you people that are listening to this podcast, can you help us out? If you've got your own suggestions, your own ideas, most of you, I assume, are accountants or bookkeepers. Why don't you send me an email and tell me what you think we should be calling this type of service? peter@essbiztools.com.au, please. But Trevor, can we move on? More and more accountants and bookkeepers are getting interested in delivering these services, whatever we call them. They're in addition to tax and the actual annual preparation of financial accounts. I think it's covering everything from week 1 through to week 52. It's how the big companies do it. They got a number for them. A lot of big companies, of course, have 13 4-week periods in a year. They don't work on monthlies. They work on various, and I think accountants should be thinking of doing that. That 5-week month mucks everything up. So why not just go to 4 weeks? But you've developed with your wife, Eve, a fantastic product in the Boss Factor Library. How is that going to help accountants market to the SME market?
Okay, well, it's a really good question once again, Peter. The library came about very quickly because I've been doing this for about 30 years, a bit like you in this space, working with accountants and their clients in business development, helping them improve and grow their practices or their businesses. So COVID, on the one hand, sort of slowed us down, but on the other hand, it's made us re-engineer the way we do things. So rather than me going out and working with accountants face to face, I've had to re-engineer a lot of stuff and put a lot of information into the marketplace. And the best way we could do that was through a library. So we've got a library which we call the Boss Factor Library, because it all rests with the boss, ultimately, comes back to the boss. And these publications are about business, leadership, and life. There's a whole raft of them in there, and they can have a quick look. Anybody can have a quick look at through. As you say, there's 50 in the library now, another 15 ready to go in, and we're making a few changes to make it easier for people to read on all devices. How it benefits accountants, firstly, there are two streams here. The first stream is, well, let me back up a bit. I think as an accountant or as any person, business is about people, process, product, and profit, the 4 Ps. People, process, product, and profit, right? And if you think about that, really, people do the processing, people create the profit, people develop the products. So if you've got a challenge in business, it's about people. They're people challenges. People fall into 2 categories, staff and clients, staff and customers. So the Boss Factory is aimed at staff and clients. So
Right.
Initially, what we're doing here, it's a personal and professional development resource for accountants to work with their teams. So there's a raft of information in there, and we'll actually help them. You and I can help these accountants put together a personal development plan or a professional development plan for them to run with their teams.
And this is very important for team talent attraction and retention, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's high. The feedback we're getting, I've got a list of applications that are coming through, which I will send to you. And these are not my applications. I started the ball rolling, but this is information coming from accountants saying, this is what we're doing now. Some of them are even publishing one of the publications on their LinkedIn profile to get comment from LinkedIn. Some of them are using them on Facebook. So on the one hand, it's a staff development tool, but on the other hand, it's a client development tool. So if you're my client and we're sitting down, we're talking about your business, and you might say to me, look, sales have dropped off a little bit. I don't know really what's going on. You might say, well, look, what I've got a couple of little publications I'd like you to have a look at. Just read through those. And then in a couple of weeks' time, let's get back together again and talk through some of the issues those publications raised. Because those publications might deal with sales, or they might deal with marketing, or they could deal with leadership, all sorts of things. So that's how we use the library. It's like the good old days. You remember when we used to go to the library? We wanted information. I mean, I spent half my life in the library when I was going to school and university. Now, of course, we just go online. We go to Google. But the beauty about the Boss Factor library, it's actually faster than the internet. You know why? Because it's all in one place. You only have to go to one place. You don't have to Google, how do I grow my business? You don't have to Google that. Just go to the library because it's in there. There's a publication. There's several on it. So that's really how people are using it. But I will send you this list of applications being sent to me by the accounting firms that have already joined the library.
Okay, thanks very much. And so accountants can make various articles available to their individual clients.
Yeah, look,
following through what you just said, because I like accountants utilising the SME needs analysis, which we've produced. And I can see your product there is very valuable in tandem with that, because the client mentions a particular problem. There's a strong possibility that you'll have an article on that within the library, especially when we get over 100.
Absolutely, there will be, and if there's not, someone's just got to tell me, and I'll produce one. I mean, that's another dimension to it. This what the library does. Accountants often, and I'm generalizing here. Accountants often don't like to get out of their comfort zone. None of us do, right? So they're comfortable in this space, but suddenly they get into this consulting area, and things come up that they may not know a lot about. Well, the library can take care of that. If they understand what's in the library, at least they've got somewhere to go to send some information to the client. Then the accountant can rapidly research that information themselves, so that next time they can have a meaningful discussion with the client. Here's the thing, Pete. The client is going to get the information from somewhere. If they don't get it from their accountant, they're going to go somewhere. They're going to go to the internet, they're going to go to the brother-in-law, they're going to go to the business coach or the management consultant or the accountant down the road who's doing this. But the client will get the information. If they want to be successful, they will get it from somewhere. So why not get it from their own accountant?
Yes, and it's all part of our overall theme, and other people like Andrew Gaddis, David Smith, Mark Holton. Amanda Gascoigne, are all talking about the accountant being this virtual chief financial officer, to use a big end of town terminology. Yeah. And let's really examine that. That is basically the accounting service is looking at providing assistance 52 weeks of the year, and weekly, setting up a process whereby weekly profitability reports are prepared, monthly accounts compared to budgets, a business review meeting being held. Now, a lot of this is summarized in the material you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think within the Boss Factor library, there's a lot of information that your traditional probably business coach would have at their fingertips. It's that sort of information. Not many accountants would generally have this information at their fingertips. I think with what you've got to offer and what with the library got, if you jam them together, all the bases are covered. I would be surprised if there was something that wasn't covered. I would be surprised. So I think.
And what the library's doing is and alongside ESS BIZTOOLS is really assisting the accountant to deliver this range of services without having to go off and do a year's research at an American university or something like that. Between us all, we're doing the research. It's there. It's given to them in a usable format that it can be handed on to clients. They can charge for the services, and it hopefully makes them feel better, more confident that they're helping their clients.
All of the publications, Peter, have been written, I call them trench written, because they've been written in the trenches. I've worked with a little over 5,000 business owners over a long period of time, 30 years, and a lot of that's been in classrooms and things like that. But all these publications are a direct result of some conversation I've had with a client or an accountant.
Right.
So it's like when you read a book, you get an idea. Well, I've taken that one idea and turned it into a case study and made it. That's largely what we've done. It's nothing revolutionary. It's just, to me, it's common sense. It's just getting information to the right people. What's really important here, Peter, is the library has come at the right place at the right time. I think there's a push for this sort of information. The clients are wanting this sort of information. So I just think it sits alongside your stuff nicely. And of course, most importantly, you've got to know how to sell this stuff. There's a sales thing here. So I think, if you're going to get involved in this, you need to get involved in our sales factor program, which about 500 accountants have already been through at this stage.
Right.
That's another thing to think about.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Trevor. We've probably gone over the timing we had set in place, but that's all right. This is our own podcast. We can deal with,
we can take as long as we want.
Yes, and it's an interesting area. For our listeners, if you want to know more information, and I hope you do, you can go to the ESS BIZTOOLS website, www.essbiztools.com.au, where when you go to the home page, there is a full summary there of the Boss Factor library you can click onto. There's links to a webinar that Trevor and I produced a week or so ago, and other material, and a complete list of what's contained within the library. Your subscription for 12 months is $450 plus GST, so it's not expensive, and you get access to all these articles that you can use with your clients. And obviously, whilst you're on that website, you can also look at the material that ESS BIZTOOLS has got available, which does really assist you to implement without spending, I would have thought, 300 to 400 hours in rewriting the material yourself. That's just the ESS side of it. Probably got the same side for yours, Trevor.
No, great.
Okay, well, Trevor, thanks for being with us today, and I look forward to having a further conversation with you down the track. Good luck with the library, and to everyone listening, I hope you're having a great day, and we look forward to talking to you again in next week. Okay, goodbye. Thanks, Trevor.
Bye.
Goodbye.